Hey guys, what's up? This is Nachos, and in this video I want to talk about the Rakeback system on GG, and then in particular I want to hone in on the profitability of the new 10-20 tables. For those of you who missed it, GG got rid of the high stakes tables, the 25-50 up to 501k tables that we're running 24/7 pretty much. They are now private, so no one can play except for the GG professionals that are playing occasionally. On the tables are not really running anymore, and instead we've got this, which is the new 10-20 tables. And you can see they're relatively popular, and so what I wanted to do is try and see if I could find any information, present any data to you guys on the profitability of those tables. For one, because I was interested in playing them myself, but on the other hand, like to share this with you guys because the Rakeback system on GG is not transparent at all. The rake is very high, so it can be relatively tough to get an estimate on how much you're winning. Alright, so before we dive in and before I show you guys the actual win rates, I want to acknowledge a few things here. One of them is I did not take into account the bet big jackpot. The jackpot fees are taken out of the win rate, but they're not included, like the hitting the bet big jackpot is not included in the win rates because it's for one near impossible to calculate what that would mean to win rate. That's one. You just need an infinite amount of sample, and even then, like, it's pretty much impossible to make a reasonable estimation. That's one. And then second is, like, if you're playing not a very high volume, if you're not playing a lot of volume on GG, then you are not going to be winning them very often. And you might get lucky and win one, but you might also go 1 year or 2 years without winning one if you just play like a few 100k hands a year on the side. So didn't take that into consideration, but keep in mind you're getting something back in return for those jackpot fees, presumably. Next thing is the PVI, which is the method they use to calculate the win, the Rakeback. It varies on a lot of factors, and so it can be very tough to give you a good estimate of what the Rakeback is. So the way it works is they have this fish buffet system where they advertise with I think it's like up to 50 or 60% Rakeback, but in reality you get significantly less if you play consistent volume on the side. If you're a winner, it can get as low as 12%. I know some winners on the side have more like 15 to 20%. It can vary based on the different factors, and it's really hard to understand why some guy gets less and the other guy gets more. For instance, in my country, in the Netherlands, the PVI is lowered to pay for the gambling tax that the operator has to pay. So it will vary from country to country, from player to player, and it's relatively tough to calculate. Something to keep in mind, the Rakeback system is not transparent, as we mentioned before. It's just really tough to assess how much you're making. The only way I was able to do it is, for one, ask a couple of players in my CP to give me an estimate of how they were doing, and then just by having a spreadsheet and just logging everything myself for some time. And then the data we used for win rates in this video are based on the top 100 volume players, and those players are not going to have the highest win rate necessarily. And the reason is they are sometimes grinding leaderboards, which means that they're playing on non-profitable seats. Like if we take the lobby here real quick, then there's going to be plenty of seats on here that aren't really profitable. Like on this table, for instance, I don't think anyone is winning pre-Rakeback. It's just the reality of the situation. Like there's one, presumably recreational, I'm not sure how bad he is, and then there's like a bunch of ranks, and especially these three seats are not profitable, and that will happen with like a bunch of these tables. They're just not going to be profitable enough to overcome the insane rake that you have to play on these tables. Alright, so next one. Let's start with the rake. Here I plotted the rake for myself when I was playing 200 now, 500 now, 1k and 2k. Especially 200 now, 500 now. I'm not entirely sure if it's very accurate because I haven't been playing that consistently for years. I've got some older hands. They might have made some slight changes here and there, but I think roughly this is what it should be. And then for 1k now, I got slightly under 8 BB, and for 2k now, I got slightly under 7 BB, which seems to be pretty consistent with some of the other racks that I spoke to. To give you an idea, on other sites where I played 10-20, the rake that I paid there is a little over 1 BB. It's a little under 1.2, I think 1.18. Here on GG, over a small sample, I was paying 6.9, which is like 5 times higher. A little over 5 times, which is just insane, if you ask me. And 1k on other sites, you pay around 2 big blinds, maybe a little bit more. But not like on most sides you're not paying more than 2.5 big blinds, and on GG you're paying 8. Now, having said that, there is Rakeback, right? We'll dive into that right now and then circle back to the win rates. There's Rakeback, so you're getting a reasonable amount of this back, and how much you're getting back, like I said, it depends on a lot of factors. It depends on how much volume you're playing, in my case, which country you're from. Do you make it into the leaderboards? How high do you make it into the leaderboards? Like, it literally matters quite a bit if you just play 2 days of 15 hours versus 4 days of 8 or 7.5, I guess. So, and then like it matters, do you have the affiliate Rakeback, which in the Netherlands you can't have, but some other countries you can basically register via an affiliate, and then you get the affiliate part of the affiliate fee that the affiliate receives. You get that via the affiliate. So you can see the total Rakeback, it can vary from like 28 to 50%. In most cases, if you're making it into the leaderboard somewhat consistently, you're getting around 30-35% Rakeback without the BetB jackpots. Obviously, the BetB jackpot could add, like, it's hard to estimate how much that adds. I'm guessing another 10%, maybe, somewhere along those lines, but it could be more, it could be less. I have literally no idea, because the standard deviation is like insane. You need a lot of volume for that to converge, and I don't think anyone has ever played that amount of hands or is ever able to play that amount of hands. And even if you take like a group of players and you pull them together, you just think everything is going to be biased. If you just win 2 jackpots more or 2 jackpots less, or even 1 jackpot more or less, will have like a pretty big impact on like the BB per 100 that you're getting from that. So take that for what you will. The way I'm doing it for myself is I'm calculating with 30% Rakeback. If you add some of the affiliate Rakeback, maybe you can go with 35, just flat Rakeback. That's what you're getting. And then it's nice if you win a BetB jackpot. If you play 1 million hands a year, then you can probably factor that in to some degree. That you're making more than 35, maybe you go to 40 or 45 or something like that. But that's about it. Cool, so let's look at the win rates. These are the win rates that I got from looking at the top 100 racks and then excluding the clearfish. So these are racks. Sometimes they're like the top, 95 racks, because there were 5 recreationals in there, sometimes 97 racks, and there were 3 recreationals in them. But basically, this is roughly the win rate. One thing to note is that the win rate for the 2000 NL racks is based on 850k hands. So even over a pretty large sample like that, the win rate could be significantly higher or significantly lower. It could be that the 2000 NL win rate is actually closer to the other 3, which I highly doubt because of the high rate, but might be that that's an option. But it could also be lower still. We basically don't know at this point. But for now, over 850k hands that like the top 100 racks have played combined, or at least the ones that are logged, it's minus 1.78 big blinds per 100, which is not great, but yeah, like something we can overcome if the Rakeback is high enough. The point is though that the way GG designed its winnings for players is very smart, because what they did is they made, as you can see here, like for the average regular, the win rate is going to be, if you're table selecting a little bit maybe, let's say that on each of these stakes you can get a win rate of minus half the big blind as the average regular. Maybe you're better than the average regular and you can factor that in, but let's just go with the average regular. Your win rate is going to be higher on 200 NL than it is on 2000 NL, simply because the rake is higher on 200 NL and you're getting a percentage of that back. This is sort of the same on other sites to some extent. Like if you have a reasonable Rakeback deal on 50 NL on whatever, like PokerStars or iPoker, then that's still sort of the case. Problem here is that you start with negative win rates. So the part of your winnings that is a Rakeback is now actually more than 100%. Whereas otherwise it's just a part of your winnings. Having said that, like the data that we have in the CFP for players that are playing other sites is that their win rates stay more or less stable. Like the more they move up, the better they come, obviously. And so the skill level increases, the rate decreases, the amount of recreationals decreases, other players' skill increases a little bit. And more or less you can say that a 200 NL player is making, on average, a couple big blinds per 100, anywhere from, like, it kind of depends on the site, but anywhere from, let's say, 3 to 7. If that player, let's say he's playing on Ignition, he makes 7 big blinds per 100, then he's going to be making roughly 7 big blinds per 100 on 1k NL or 2k NL as well. 2k NL is actually the only different stake where we have slightly lower win rates as a CFP. The rest of the stakes pretty much stable. Yeah, on GG that's going to be different, right? Simply because of you winning a percentage of your rake, and that is going to be more than 100% of your winning. So you can see that here. This is the net win rate, and this is, like I said, it's not a very transparent system, so it's really hard to come up with numbers like this, and there's no exact way to do this. The way we did it is we said, okay, well, the average rake is going to get 35% rake back pre bet B jackpot. So that's what we're going with. 35% rake back seems like a reasonable number to take. It's probably generous towards GG, because I'm guessing that the average rake back that they're paying is significantly less, because not everyone makes it into leaderboards. Even though you might be planning on doing it daily, sometimes you realize, okay, something's come up and I can't play at the end of my session today, and I'm just not going to make it into the leaderboard today. And yeah, this assumes that you're always going to be making it into the leaderboard and you get some affiliate rake back. So 35% of the rake we took, which is obviously very significant here, and then 35% of that rake minus the negative average win rate by the rakes, and then you get these win rates. So for 2000 NL, you can see it is 60.67 big blinds per 100 post rake and rake back, not including the bet B jackpots, and this is obviously very low. Now, realistically, you are able to get higher win rates pre-rake back if you're table selecting consistently. Then that is definitely an option, and it's a strategy that a lot of players are using. If I open a random table right now, here there's 7 players watching this table, and if I click any of these seats, well, actually it's already happening. So you can see how quickly the table fills up, and you can see, which is like kind of annoying in my opinion, is like if I take this seat, you'll see that the other seats get reserved relatively quickly. Usually, how many people are watching this? Yeah, you can see they're reserved, and sometimes just every seat gets reserved, and you don't know if there's a recreational sitting down. It's just a matter of very predatory behavior from a lot of the racks. There's basically nothing you can do about it. It's kind of annoying, but that's the way it works. Having said that, like if you are a little bit like not as predatory as some of these guys, but a little bit more chill, but still you're somewhat mindful of the tables that you're playing, you're not playing every table, then your win rate can get a decent bit higher. It might be tougher to get into the leaderboards. You might be needing to play more hours in order to make it into the leaderboards, because if you don't make it into the leaderboards, then you run into the issue of like missing the 7 to 18% rake back, which obviously comes at the cost as well. Just before we end this video, real quick, I wanted to show you what it means to win 6.63 BB per 100. This is at 1k hands, so you can see results like hovering between minus 60 buy-ins and plus 60 buy-ins. Like no one knows anything after 100k hands at this win rate. And again, this is the average win rate, right? I'm not like from like the top 100 rack, volume rack. So they're like pretty decent players. Some of the best players in the world are in this sample. Like guys like Kevin Paki, Cameron Couch is in there, George from BitB is in there. There are a bunch of high volume crushers in there. Obviously some weaker racks as well. Average win rate 0.63. After 100k hands, you know fuck all, unless you won like the B jackpot obviously. After 500k hands, you still don't know anything. Like there's still like a lot of noise in this. Like a bunch of players are still losing after. Like imagine like playing 500k hands. You're actually a winning poker player, but you're not even like one of the worst here, but like you're down 50 buy-ins or something like that over 500k hands. You're just going to assume that you're not winning, and this is including rakeback, right? So you've gotten your rakeback and everything, and now you're down 100k after playing 500k hands. Unless you won a jackpot, maybe then things are a little bit better. Like obviously this is variance and things like that happen, but things like this happen much more often if you have a very low win rate, whereas if you just have, or if you're playing on another side, which on 1020 might be tough, which is one of the reasons why it's so popular. Anyone pretty much can play on GG. On many other sides, not everyone can play, or there's not a lot of tables running and you just might not be able to play a lot of volume on 1020. But yeah, you can see still a lot of players losing. Million hands, pretty much same thing, right? Still some players losing. Obviously some more are winning right now. But the EV here is 63 buy-ins profit after a million hands, so it's like a drop in the bucket basically. And yeah, like if you're just running a little bit shitty, then you're just still going to be losing. And then the last one I did is 5 million hands, and you can see still like it's pretty much everywhere. There's still players losing. Like this guy, worst of 20, is losing almost 200 buy-ins after rakeback, and like he's been down more poor guy's like been down almost 400 buy-ins, like under 800k down at some point, and yeah, like you are actually a winning player. Win rates are just so extremely low that it's almost hard to assess whether you are winning or not, which is why I find playing on GG, yeah, it's probably something that I'm not really going to do, although I really like the idea of playing versus some of the guys that are playing there. My actual win rate over a few hundred K hands is half a big blind over reasonable sample pre-Rakeback, so I'm getting some Rakeback on top of that. Might be able to do a little bit better, especially if I table select a little bit harder, because there was some time where I was leaderboarding some tables, so I might be able to do a little bit better. Probably what I'm going to do is just mix them in at a low volume, like play 1, 2, maybe 3 tables and see how things are going. And especially at the 10-20 level, I think I want to be a bit more careful. Alright, so that's it for this video. If you have any comments, questions, whatever, drop them down below. If you have any comments on the audio quality, I'm aware, like I'm recording this on my laptop. We are going to drive to Andorra, where my main setup is, within a couple of days, so things should get a lot better. I'm going to buy a new camera and like some new equipment to make sure that everything is the quality of everything is going to be a lot better. For now, like, thanks for watching. You made it to the end. I'm really glad that you did. And yeah, like, subscribe, and talk to you guys soon. Bye.